Well, hello everyone, and thank you for joining me today at Juanette's Crafting Corner. Before we get started, I would like to thank these people for their comments. And Violet, who is Paper Made Pretty, she is also a labor and delivery nurse. So, recently, I had a viewer ask me to make a flip flop journal. And so that's what we're making today. So let's get started on that video. In today's video, I thought I would start a flip flop journal. This was inspired by Pam at Pandora's Junk Journals. And I have some file folders that have a gusset, basically. So what I've done, and you can do any size you want, but I want two gussets that are this size, 3/4 of an inch. Let me show you. I have used a total of 2 file folders. So this is one of the gussets. And what I did is I scored it, and I took my scoreboard. I laid it in here, and I scored just, I think, about a 1/2 inch to make a small gusset for some pages. Then you have your bigger gusset here. Then what I did is I took the two folders together, and let's just say they're like this. I glued one on one side and then glued the other side so that it made a pocket over here and then a pocket over here. Then here I just folded it plain where the tuck is. There is no gusset. Then I have the double gusset here again from the original file folder. And then I did another 1/2 inch gusset here. And so it's going to be, this is the top front. It will open like that. There will be pages in there. Then it will fold over like this. There will be a page or two there with a pocket. Then it will fold over. There will be more pages here. And then it will fold like this. And then you will start over, just going back and forth. It's almost like what you would call an accordion fold journal. So what I've done on this one here is I measured from here to here, and it's about 3/4 of an inch. And it's the same over here on this side. But I felt it was a little wobbly. So what you're going to do is cut yourself another piece that is the same in length and the same in width, and glue it down. And that will give you a little bit more strength in where you're going to stitch your signatures. Now, right now, I have these all just plain, just the color of the file folder, and I'm going to do a little bit of coffee dyeing and stamping. So let's just lay this on here in the center. And again, like I said, that's going to give me a little bit of strength. It looks like it's a little bit longer, but that's no problem. We can trim that off. And then we're going to let that dry. So once again, don't be intimidated by how many flips and flops there are. You can do however you want to do it. There is no right or wrong. So now that that's kind of adhered just a tiny bit, I'm going to bring in my scissors and trim this off just to make that even. And I can use some other file folders to add pockets. So what I'm going to do now is take this to my kitchen where I have some paper laid out, and a lot of this is going to be covered with fabric and paper. But in case there's some areas that are not covered with fabric or paper, I want it to be stamped or coffee dyed. So I'm going to take this and, like I said, spray some diluted coffee over it on both sides, let it dry. I'm also going to take another file folder that I had cut up and spray a little coffee on that so that I have that available for pockets and maybe other flip outs and what have you. So like I said, what I did is I went and coffee stained. You can see a little bit of coffee there, a tiny bit of coffee there. So I just laid it out on my counter and did a very light spraying of coffee. The main reason I did not want the file folder to warp, and I did this page too. Then I came in with some of my favorite stamps. Some of them are Stampin' Up stamps. And then these are Sam Poole stamps. And then I've got some just kind of various like just splotch stamps. And I mostly went around the edge because I'm going to be covering all of these with digital. So like I didn't worry about there, but where the spine is, I did do heavier copy or stamping. So that's what it looks like. I did both sides. And then now what I'm going to do is pull out my papers for each section. And I kind of went ahead and did that. I've used a combination of Medieval Mirage, Roxy Creations. Did I do anybody else? Oh, and then just some ledger pages. So what I do is I fold them up. It's going to be a document style journal. And so that I have an even amount, I go through and I just write with a little sticky note. Like there's 2 with 7 pages, there's 2 with 5, and there's 2 with 4. Now what I will do you see this one here with this really big spine? Remember, that's written to the top. So on this big spine is where I will slip in one of the 7. Do you see how that's big there? I will slip in a 7-1 there. And then I will slip in a 5-1 here with just the 1/2 inch one. So then I'm going to kind of flip it over. Now this one here that just has the fold line, I'm going to do just the 4-1. And then this one again is the big one, and I'm going to put in a 7. Then I'm going to flip it over. This is small, so it's going to have a 4-inch one. This is one of the 1/2 inch ones, so it's also going to have a 5. And then I think I got them all done. Yes, I did. They're all done. So they fit in there nicely. What I will do is I will go through and I will sew these in, more than likely doing a 5-hole pamphlet stitch. I've said before, I like the 5-hole pamphlet stitch because instead of 3 places for it to hold your papers, there are 5 places. And I have a tutorial on how to do that. Then we will come back, and what we will do is decorate and cover some of these pages. So I've started sewing my signatures in, and there was a couple of tips that I wanted to tell you guys about. So go ahead and mark with punching your hole with your awl where you want your signature. And if you recall me in other videos, this is what I use to punch out the holes for my signatures. But to punch out the holes for the file folder, I just lay this paper with the holes punched out over my file folder, and I just punch in using the book. And so then I don't cut off my thread. You know how some people say you have to measure 3 lengths? I don't find that I necessarily have to do that. I'm going to start on the inside, and I'm going to just do this real quick, and I'm going to fast forward through it. It's going to take some finagling, that's for sure. But I'm just going to do this real quick. So in this part, yes, it is on fast forward a little bit, but I thought I would do a little bit of explaining here. So do you see how the butterfly pages kind of fell off to the side? And as you're finagling with your thread and your stitching, they are at times going to be loose, but the main thing is after you're done with all of your stitching is when you need to make sure that you pull all of your threads tight. The other thing that I did is I think I had written earlier that I had done 8 pages, but because that spine was 3/4 of an inch in width, I decided to sew in 2 signatures of 4 pages each, and that way the book will lay better, and also I will have more room to add pockets and tucks and what have you. Now I've split my thread here, so I'm just going to hold it, pull back the thread, and try to come back in without splitting it. Kind of seems like I'm still there. I think I did it without splitting it. And then I will tighten everything up once I have it all sewn. This is quite the fiddly journal. Let's see if I can get this in through here. Oh, it's splitting, but again, I'll pull it off to the side, and then I think I'm going to be okay. So once I get everything sewed in, then I just come back and I pull everything tight. And I think I've told you guys this before, is what you're going to do is look here, make sure it's tight. Then you're going to look over here and make sure it's tight. Kind of pull on it. And then you're going to also flip it over and make sure it looks tight. Now it's still a little bit loose there, so it needs to be tightened up even more. So that's how I do it. And I make sure that my thread is on each side, one on one side of the middle signature and one on the other side. And then the reason why I remember reinforced this spine is so I could pull. And I pull it just enough to make sure that it's taut, but not so much to tear it. And now I'm going to turn it this way and then just pull it even a little bit more. I think that's tight. I think that's tight. I just like to double check because I don't see that still feels loose to me. That is loose. Why is that loose? Let me pull this and see what's going on. Okay, that's why. It's this one that is loose. Once I pull it tight and tie it in a knot, it won't be loose. That was the problem. Okay, should be tight. Okay. And then what I found when I needed to sew in the next, yeah, that's good. When I needed to sew in my next signature, it helped to have these pages clipped together so that they were out of the way. And then now I can sew in my next signature. And again, my butterflies are upright, so then I know this needs to be upright. So all of my signatures are sewn in. And one of the little tips that I can give you is once you sew in a signature, say for instance, you've sewn in this signature and these two signatures, just take your paper clips, your bigger ones, and slide them over the whole thing so that when you're working on and sewing in these next signatures, they're not in the way. The same thing with, these. Go ahead and as you do each one, clip them together and it'll make it a little bit easier as you're flip-flopping back and forth to sew in signatures. Now, my next thing is to take a look at the journal itself and see if there's any trimming that I need to do. So I start at one end and I start flipping. And thank goodness I've already kind of done this, and everything is in the correct orientation. So it doesn't matter which side you start. That was my top. So I'm going to flip the page and just turn each page and make sure that it turns well, that nothing gets caught. I had gone ahead and done a little bit of sewing on some of the pages. Okay, so that's one signature. And then as you turn it over, then it goes to the next one. And so as I lay that down, that does well. It flips okay. I'm able to still lay it flat. There's my pocket. Turn it over and continue on, so on and so forth. But there is a couple of pages that I believe I'm going to have to trim down. And I'll show you what those are in just a second. So that's the end. And so that's going to flip over. Now, I had this turned over, but I think I need this length or this width. I'm sorry, the width for the journal. So I'm not going to turn that over and sew that down. I'm going to have that continue out that way. So as I turn the page, continuing to flip pages, there was one page that I've already had to go and trim it off a little bit. So then now as I turn that and I look here, my pages are still pretty good. It's laying flat. Now this one, it seems long here. So let me just continue to fold this over and take a look. It sometimes takes a long time when you're doing a journal. Those seem to be doing okay. But see, as I'm doing this, they seem to be catching a little bit here. Let me go back again. So those go okay, and they're even there. Then this one's okay. But see, as I have that open, and then I turn it this way, see, as these pages, this page is getting caught. And it's actually even getting wrinkled a little bit. So I need to trim this page. And unfortunately, it's going to take a few of those a bit of that little girl off. So what I do is I just bring in a craft knife. And what I'm going to do is lay this like this right on my number 3 line. I'm going to bring in my Tim Holtz ruler, which has the steel part there. It's on the 3 line, and I'm just going to go to the 1/4 inch and just come down and cut that. Then I'm going to bring my paper down again, line it up with the 3, the edge of the 3 and the edge of the 3 here. Bring my ruler down to where I had it at the quarter, right? Is that where I've had it? Is it there or there? I'm going to go there and finish trimming that off. Okay, and so then let's see. You see how that evened up with that there? And so even though, oh, not too much came off, that's okay. So again, now I look at it and it still is a tiny bit, I can kind of see it right there, just ever so slightly. I'm going to come in and take off. I'm going to take off just another little sliver. And what you could do if you need to, you could just do it with your scissors. But I'm just going to take just ever so slightly a sliver off there. Just because I don't want this page to keep getting caught as you would flip the journal. Okay. So see, I think that lays there better. So as I close that, I think that's pretty good there. Yeah, this sticks out a little bit, but because this sticks out here, I think we're okay. So again, I'm going to do this multiple times. If you find your pages are getting caught underneath as you're flipping your journal, then just take them and trim them off. Now, a couple of these are getting caught now, like this one. This one's getting caught, but unfortunately, I had sewn it and done it as a little tuck here, but it's still, I think it's too long. So I'm just going to cut it here with my scissors and take off that whole, oh, let me think about this. I don't want to take off. I'm going to open this up. Let's see what that looks like if I still leave that stitching there. If I go like that, I had stitched it to make a pocket, I think is what I did. I could actually even make the pocket deeper. I could do that like that. I'm going to work on this a little bit and then I'll be back with you guys. What I've decided to do is make it easier on myself, and I'm just going to come in here with a tear ruler. I am going to have to trim that thread off there, but I'm just going to come in with the tear ruler and tear that to shorten that a little bit. And then as I get down here at the end, then I need to bring in my scissors and cut that. So I've lost that pocket, but that's no big deal. I can make more pockets. So, okay. So I think that'll fit better. Yeah. So again, I'm just going to keep doing this over and over until it seems to flow well. And then we will decorate the covers and the pockets next Monday. Thanks for joining me. I appreciate it. Bye.